This first song I ever wrote was called Song with Words.
How old were you?
Gosh, it was like this girl, I had a crush on a girl, and I was probably, I was 15, I think. 14 or 15, I guess. But I played piano, and I'd written like little instrumental things, and I like my favorite, on piano I put on Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' Greatest Hits, and I learned every song on the piano. And then Ben Folds too, I was big on Ben Folds. Yeah, so I guess it was 15 when I wrote that first song, and then it just kind of evolved. I've been through phases where I've, written whatever, 100 songs in a year or something. I mean, I'm not counting, but I think it's just evolved into a way of really expressing emotion. And not only, I guess, you sing other people's songs and it's cool because you can express what they're feeling, or you can put a little different spin on it because you're singing it. You're taking Free Fallin', and you're singing it your way, so it's your voice on somebody else's words. But when it's your own words, it's really cool. It's really cool. And I think a lot of times, I notice with our stuff sometimes, to be honest, you're not always in the moment when you're performing a song. You kind of, you start thinking about something else, and then you're like, oh, I'm in the second chorus. You kind of forget about it. But we played a show last night, and I was watching people even be affected, and I almost stepped out of what we were doing and just kind of
watched
some of my roles and played, did the parts and all, hopefully good, but that's
why you practice, is so that when you're performing, you can have kind of that out of body experience and watch people and watch how they're acting. I kind of go to my little happy place when I'm performing, and so it's not that the song becomes mechanical performing it, but it's just wherever your emotion takes you, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's just like a memory thing, and then you just go to your
And when you get there wherever you're at, and I'm looking out in the audience, I'm seeing people being affected by what I'm doing, but it's funny to me because I'm not actually feeling that emotion at that time, right? You're singing a heartbreak song or a love song, and you would expect that the songwriter is thinking about that relationship or that road trip they took or that breakup.
That's something that's hard as an artist too, is because, as an artist-writer I should say, because sometimes you'll write a song, like I wrote a broke-up song 6 months ago that maybe I'm over it now, but I still play it because people love it. And so that can be sort of difficult as an artist, is performing a song that you're not really feeling anymore, even though you still really like the song, And a lot of the music that we're doing right now, we're in the moment, but I feel like it keeps carrying over. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because newer stuff keeps coming.
Yeah.
There's something else I wanted to say about songwriting. I lived in Los Angeles for 5 years, and not to diss LA, but I think people over there now there are great writers there, and there's a lot of talent in Los Angeles, don't get me wrong.
It's just a different way of writing.
It's a different way of writing. Here it's like a craft. I would compare it to the acting craft in LA. Like, people are so focused on, if you have a scene, and not that anybody cares about this, but you have a scene, and we would take in class and we would do this word repetition thing where if you have a sentence like, hey, it's great to see you today, you'd say the word hey, and you go around the room with this line, and every 12 people would say the word hey in a different way. So then when you went into the audition, or when you were on the television show, when you said, hey, it's great to see you today, every single word would have the utmost meaning. And I think that absolutely is translated in my songwriting. When you listen to great songs, listen to Bob Dylan's The Hurricane, or whatever the song would be, I mean, every word matters. There's nothing in there that's no fluff. There's no lines in there that you're like, it's okay. Every single thing is just gold.
Yeah. And that's another thing, that's kind of a Nashville thing, I think, is every word is clear and concise, and you know exactly what is being said. There's no questioning. Especially with, I guess, more with country music.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a thing. That's something that I learned when I came here, is, writing with clarity, so.
I think that's the difference between country and pop, too.
That could be.
When you write pop, because I've done a lot of pop, when you write pop, the song's more about an overall feel. If you listen to great country stuff and songwriter stuff, something somebody told me once is you never want to say like one thing in the first line and then basically repeat it in a different way. You want to move on. You've got to be moving forward. So the first, it's a concise, crescendo of emotion or whatever, but there's never a line that you're like, oh, well, we already knew that.
Yeah.
We knew that you left her, or he left him, or he left him.
Something
Could
that
be he left him now.
Hey,
You know.
nothing wrong with that.
Something that I learned,
Brokeback songwriting.
I actually studied with Tom Douglas, who's a great, amazing songwriter. He's had a ton of great songs, but something that he told me is that the lyrics should be able to stand by themselves. And it was Tom Douglas and James Elliott, another really great songwriter in town, more of a Christian songwriter. But what they taught me was that you can't cover it up with a good voice, and sometimes I would tend to use my voice as a crutch, and I know other singers who are great singers who do that, and so they told me to just go home and print off the lyrics or write them out and just read them before you even put a melody to it. And that can vary from person to person, your songwriting process, but if you ever have the chance to just let your lyrics stand alone and just kind of edit it and just take a little time and have a little patience and let it kind of marinate for like a week or something, and then go back and change things before you even try to sing it and make it sound prettier than it really is, So it's another thing that I learned about lyrics more than anything.
I think going back to, we were talking the other day with a co-writer, Chris Burgess. He's genius, and he says some brilliant things, and two things he said that I think are great. We were talking about giving advice or whatever, if I could give advice to myself and listen to advice now. One thing was he said in the morning, like the next morning after you've written something, he says your brain is really, I guess, clear, you haven't gotten stressed and the day hasn't hit you yet. It's a great time to go back and look at lyrics and look at the words and listen again, which is cool too. I mean, for example, we wrote a song the other day and I sent it to her this morning and she's listening, oh, this is great, and that's a good sign.
If you still like it.
Still like it the next day.
Yeah. Because you're always going to like it when you're excited about it and you're in the moment, right?
And everybody's in the room and you're like, oh, this is awesome. We're all singing harmonies.
There's no outside world
Yeah, nobody else
judgment
is saying.
Yeah. And another thing that really helps me is I have like a tight circle of people that I'll send things to, and they know that they're supposed to be honest with me, and I'll just send them our work tape, and they'll tell me if they like it or if they don't like it, and that's what you want, because so what if it hurts your feelings? Get over it. You write 100 songs, So it's just good to have people who believe in you and always giving their feedback,
Honest feedback.
Yeah, people who are close enough to you to not be afraid to hurt your feelings if they don't think that it's your best.
Well,
we say that to each other.
Absolutely, we're very harsh on each other, but we can be because we know each other. But I think we all watch American Idol, we all watch the outtakes, and we wonder who is telling these people that they are good singers.
Yeah, they need a Simon.
They need a Simon.
I'll be your Simon. You can be my Simon.
So that. Oh, and then the other thing Chris said I think is brilliant. He's talking about one of his songwriters that he. Was talking about a great songwriter. He actually ended up running into him. That's a whole other story.
Oh yeah.
He was saying, how can I compare? I don't know. Let's say it's Tom Petty. So if I was talking about Tom Petty, and I'm like, man, I want to write songs like Tom Petty, and I list my
his
top 5, 10 Tom Petty songs. So what Chris was saying is, you can't compare what you write on a day-to-day basis to the 10 greatest songs of one of the greatest writers out there.
Throughout their whole career.
Because you don't hear Tom Petty's, you don't hear the songs that don't get cut. You don't hear the songs that he recorded at 3 a.m, woke up and deleted it off of his little voicemail. We all do that.
Yeah.
I wake up and then I'll listen to it the next day and laugh. Delete, or I'll play them for her and we all laugh about it. Because it's just awful if it's awful.
But when you're in the moment though, you really sometimes do think it's great. Especially if it's one of those times where you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're like, I have this killer idea. I just dreamed about it.
Every time I wake up at 3 a.m, I think it's great.
Yeah, but sometimes it is.
10, I'd say 1 for me, 1 out of 5 is something that I actually pursue in a couple of days. I'll go back and listen to it and maybe say, oh, that is something kind of cool. Or I'll type the lyric in and maybe ever finish it. I don't know.
And another thing is that when you write a song and maybe you don't think it's good, because this happens to me sometimes, because I need other people's feedback, I think, because I want to know what everybody else thinks about it. And I write alone quite often. So I wrote this song alone in October, and I sent it to one person, and he didn't like it. So I never played it for anyone for 6 months, that song, It's
What
You.
song? Yeah.
And I played it,
So
I went home and played it for my dad or something, and he's like, is that new? And I was like, no, I wrote it 6 months ago, but this other guy I sent it to didn't like it. So it's just everybody's opinion is also different, so you have to keep that in mind. But you should never keep anything to yourself if you even think there's a little inkling of a chance that it might be good, because it could be, it could be a hit. So I don't think that you should hide anything.
Garth Brooks goes, you're talking, be true to yourself and do what you think is good. There's an essence of that. I mean, there's a lot of people. Maroon 5 is playing the same songs, same great songs for 10 years. They were called Kara's Flowers. They did all this different stuff, had this, nobody heard about them. I didn't know about them. I heard in the Post from people who did know them. But Garth Brooks says, at the end of the day, you're the one who's got to sleep at night. You got to be satisfied with your own work. So, and I saw this interview when he was doing it, he comeback thing or something.
Yeah.
Because he's returning or something.
Right.
Gonna
Again.
do a new tour again.
Yes.
Yeah, right? I need to see him live. But he said, at the end of the day, you're the one sleeping. You're the one who has to live with what you've done in your body of work. So
that's true. And another thing is that sometimes, as young writers, we're young writers in Nashville, and sometimes people will try to, tweak your lyrics or constructive criticism, and that's okay. And it's great to listen, but I think that there's a part of you that has to be just a little bit stubborn. There's a fine line between being stubborn and being accepting and just kind of knowing what you like better. And it's okay to not accept everything that,
if you think it's great and you love it, then play it.
Then keep it. Don't change it for someone else.
Absolutely.
If you want to keep it.
No matter who they are.
Yeah.
Record label, CEO, whoever. Person with a lot of money, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Unless you think that their criticism is going to make it better. And maybe it will, but
right, you agree with it.
It's a case-by-case basis.
Agreed. My vibe, a lot of times, if we're just kind of stuck, I'll just throw things out. I'm not afraid to suck.
Yeah, you can't be afraid of putting yourself out there, getting your feelings hurt a little bit.
And even yesterday, she'll say a line, I'm like, no.
Veto.
Yeah, just veto.
Fail.
If you're just not vibing, there's a million words out there. And so I was in this session, and we got together again and wrote a second song, and we got stuck at one point, and they were like, do your spaghetti thing. And I'm like, what? They're like, where you throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. So they're like asking me, we literally played the verse, and I'm just throwing out whatever, man. I drove a Bridgestone truck, and it was black, and I like ducks, and I could have gone somewhere bad, but and that's where not being afraid to not be great, not getting, get over yourself sometimes, everybody's written a bad song. Every actor's done a bad movie. It's the same situation. And there's another quote too. Desmond Child, he's a producer, songwriter. He did all Bon Jovi stuff. He's amazing. I've worked with him a couple times. He goes, somebody was asking him, how do we keep coming up with new songs? Hasn't it all been done? And he goes, well, it's like phone numbers. It's like there's only 12 keys on a phone, if you include pound and star. He goes, but we keep coming up with new phone numbers. You just rearrange it and rewrite it, which is kind of cool.
That's another thing that Chris said, is that there's only 10 things you can really write about. And it's like single moms, your truck died, your dog died, you're in love, you're breaking up, you first love, you got a divorce, there's only so many things you can write about, and it's just thinking of it in a way that it hasn't been said yet.
Yeah. And that's something too, I think, with songs that are, a good song says something, maybe a great song says something in a way it's never been said before. And I think that's something, that's what a hit song is. A lot of times, I guess, in the pop world, and whatever a hit song, I think, is something clever, where, was Katy Perry, I Kissed a Girl?
Yeah.
Taste of her cherry chapstick, that's just something that nobody's ever said something like that.
But it's relatable also, because
Right.
everyone's like, oh, I have that cherry chapstick, it's pink, and then you can see it, and it's visual. And people then relate to that,
And I think you just have to, for it to translate, for people to want to hear it again, it has to be a way they've never heard it before.